Howdy, folks. Today we're diving into the question, is photography still worth it as a career in 2025? We're talking business, headshots, and how to survive and thrive as a photographer in today's creative economy right after this. Welcome to Camera Shake, where we bring you the insider scoop on all things photography and videography, giving you a unique opportunity to stay ahead of the curve. We've spent literally hundreds of hours interviewing some of the most renowned photographers of our time, giving you access to knowledge and expertise that's not available anywhere else. As always, I'm your host, Kirsten Nuts, and if you're like me and you enjoy free podcasts and YouTube content, you can become a supporter of the show by buying us a coffee over on buymeacoffee.com/camerashake to help us create more exciting episodes for you. But, of course, you're more than welcome to say no. No hard feelings. Well, just know that your support really does make a difference. Now, without further ado, let's give it up for today's special guest, headshot and portrait photographer, educator, and marketing mastermind. Joining us all the way from California, it is the one and only Yaneck Wasiek. Yaneck, welcome to the show.
Kirsten, super nice to connect with you and be on the podcast today. So let's get started.
Yaneck, give us a helicopter view on what you did before you went into photography as a career.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a business background. So I have my undergrad degree in information decision science. So basically management of information systems. And I did my master's also in Chicago in managing information systems. That was my master with concentration in e-commerce. So after school, I went into consulting. So I first started as a developer, then into lead developer, then architect, and then team lead and director. And, basically I went through all the levels of consulting you can imagine. I mean, I finished at the director level. I worked first from the big companies. I worked for Deloitte for a few years, and then I moved to a company called Avanade, which is a joint venture between Accenture and Microsoft. For those of you guys that don't know about Accenture, because it seems like a lot more people heard about Deloitte than Accenture, but Deloitte and Accenture are pretty much the same size, the two biggest consulting companies in the world. So the Avanade is implementation of Microsoft technology, kind of through Accenture, but they do on their own a lot as well.
What was the turning point that made you decide to go into photography as a career?
You know what? As I was working in the consulting field, I always loved photography. So, I had my first camera, which is actually right, above me, the little camera on my shelf. That's my first camera that I received for my first communion back in Poland. So I always photographed. I moved to digital. I think when was it the Canon 10D came out or something like that. So it was my first digital camera. I was printing already back then from this digital camera. So I was always into photography. But at some point, somebody asked me if I, photographed their, I think it was a family and then wedding. And I was like, yeah, why not? So it's like I studied on my own. So while still working in consulting, and I was doing this on weekends. And at some point I decided this is, I don't want the corporate world anymore. I need to, I'm going to try to, to become full-time photographer. Because, I was doing photography as a part-time job, I think for like 10 years. That was, I was working during the week in the consulting, I was traveling nonstop. And then once I go to the hotel, I'll do editing, and then I will photograph weddings or families on the weekend, and then go back to work, Monday to Friday to my regular corporate work.
Was that difficult to take that step? And I think I'm asking this because I know that a lot of, listeners to this podcast, for example, might be in the same situation where I think it's not uncommon to start, your photography business almost like a side hustle, and then taking that step into doing that full time is very, very difficult. How did you? What did you put in place? How did you do it at a time?
You know what? It was very difficult. One of the main reasons why it was difficult is that my corporate job paid really well. So I didn't have a situation where my job was pretty bad. I could barely make it. Let me just put myself into do not disturb, so this way I don't have any notification. Perfect. Here it is. Um, and so the pay was really good. The benefits were good. Um, the quality of life was not good. Okay, because in consulting, the stress. At least some people in consulting thrive with a decent amount of stress, or they don't let the stress absorb that much their personal life. I was not that person. I was it was constantly in my mind. I couldn't relax. My mind was always racing. That I started to in consulting. I built a reputation that I could fix crappy projects. So basically, I got whatever the shitty project was. That was like, okay, Yaneck, you go and fix it, right? So so basically, all my engagements were pretty tough because I had to rescue a project, bring it back on track, and that. So from the personal perspective, like my life, that's where I struggle. So that would help me make the decision. From the financial perspective, it was keeping me. That's why it took me so long to make the switch, because the money was good, right? um and at some point, we my I got to a point, like mental health issue, struggling, because I remember, like, many times I'll go to like a client meeting, very stressful client meeting, and I would just like either walking or flying, and I'm like, I really don't want this. Like, I would prefer not to live right now than to go there. You know? It was also like those stupid thoughts, but I'm like, this is not good. This is way too much, stress that I should be able to, or I should really have my life, and life is too short. Okay. And so that's why, like, what that actually the tipping point was, Sasha and I, so my wife Sasha, we photographed a wedding on New Year's Eve in Chicago. And I remember it was like 4 degrees outside. And it was New Year's Eve, so obviously we missed our own celebration because we have to work. And we were driving back home after this wedding, like at 2 a.m., I remember. And we look at each other and we're like, why the heck are we doing this? Like, why, why are we here? Like, what is the appeal here? And so we look at each other, and my wife Sasha's like, well, what do you think? I was like, I think we need to move somewhere where the climate is better and make some drastic change. You know, so we decided we're gonna back in Chicago. We're gonna move to California and see how it goes. And at first, I was trying to make a move within my company to California, but there was no good opportunities, at that point, to move to California, or like something I didn't want to do. Which is the funny part is they gave me opportunities to move to Orange County, but in my mind, I was set that I want to move only to San Diego, but there were no opportunities in San Diego. So there's like, okay, we cannot do it. And then guess what? Where am I now? In Orange County again. So, like, but it turned out for good. So basically, um, when there was no opportunity in California, we're like, you know what? Let's put some money on the side and let's move them. Let's make them move to California, and maybe this is the right opportunity to become full-time photographers. You know, let's uh, live on a very low budget, and have enough money for like 6 to 9 months of living expenses. and then just make the move. And especially we didn't have any kids yet at that time, and which was another reason why we decided to quit the job and move to California, because at that point we had tried to have kids for a couple of years and we were not successful. And guess what? After we moved to California, you know, we Sasha got pregnant with Savannah, our first daughter, within 3 months after we moved to California. So, this kind of magic of different location, it's possible. So there's more benefit than just becoming full-time photographer. We just, became parents as well.
It's perfect. What else, what else could you possibly wish for?
Yeah.
Um, so what was the first thing you did? So you found yourself in California. You've just decided to basically dump your successful job. You're setting yourself up as as a photographer. Nobody knows you there. You're in a new environment. Literally, you're going back to square one. You're starting on a completely blank page. What was the first thing you did?
Yeah. So, sorry. The first, we had to find a place to live first, right? So we decided that we need to have a place, where we can photograph and live. So we found a loft, like I guess, live work kind of loft, situation. So we had like an open room, just one open room in the loft, and that was our studio and our living space. So we had a bed in the corner, and then we have in the kitchen, and then the rest was the studio, and like a sofa, and then TV to kind of meet with the clients. So that was the first thing, that we need to have a space to even photograph, right? Because at that time I was just starting with headshots, and I'll tell you in just a second why I decided to even do headshots in the first place. But back then I still was photographing weddings. So I think like few months before, like I think 3 or 4 months before we moved to California, we actually posted a video. Sasha posted a video that we're going to California for one day, and we need to build a California portfolio. So we were looking for couples and families so we can photograph them for free. And so basically, because we wanted to have a California portfolio. So like we went there for a day. I remember in one day, I think we have 13 or 14 sessions. And we photographed for the whole day. And in that one day, we built a whole portfolio of engagement, family, wedding, portraits. So basically, we have, from the 13 sessions, we have something to put on our website, because Chicago weddings are completely different than California weddings. So we have to have something in our website that look like California. So so we can attract the wedding clients. So from the wedding perspective, we started to do to go to venues, and then did the wedding shows, or wedding expos. So we had a booth there, and then we but it was pretty, those booths, for us back then, like, it was pretty expensive. I don't remember how much they charged, whether it was like $800, $1,000 for the booth. I don't know what it was, but I remember it was expensive. It was a big expense. And we would book a few weddings from there, but it was not very consistent. And obviously at Expo, those clients are mainly price sensitive, so we have to really compete on the price because nobody knew us at that point. So that and then when we photograph weddings, the money that you receive from a wedding, you may receive, like, I don't know, $1,000 deposit, or maybe even 50% deposit. But the second half is only where the wedding happens, right? So we needed more cash flow in than not cash flow out. So we said, like, okay, what kind of photography can we do so that we get paid right away, and we can do it, not just on weekends, but we have, because like if you photograph weddings the whole week, you don't do anything, maybe some editing, but basically it's just go on the weekend. So that's how we started to do headshots. And we started to the first thing we did, actually, in the building where we lived, there was a lot of different businesses and people lived normally. So we created like a flyer that we're gonna do headshots and sangria party. So we made gallons. I mean, the whole fridge was like with bowls of sangria, and then we invited everybody from the building. I think it was like the first week or second week after we moved in. We said like, okay, so we're gonna invite the whole building, and we're just gonna make free headshots for everybody, and then drink sangria.
Sounds
And
good.
we actually,
Perfect.
yeah. So, and, and surprisingly enough, we actually have a very good turnout. I mean, like, I would say more than half of the building came to our place, and we met so many interesting people. And it's like one of the the person people that we met at that party was turn out the president of the business association for Gaslamp Quarter in San Diego was in our building. So he hired us to photograph for Gaslamp Quarter in San Diego, to do photography for events, etc. So that was kind of a cool job right away. Then we got some extra headshots, from that job. But obviously it was started out, but it started to get the word out. And then what we did, literally, we walked from door to door, from business to business, in like downtown San Diego, asking if they don't need headshots. And we went to, because there's a lot of hotels in Gaslamp as well. So we went to every hotel around there, and it's like, you know what, we'll do headshots for free for your team, for your event team. And we photographed a good number of hotels, and they gave us that gave us a lot of connections, and actually we got a lot of jobs from that effort. Because those, whenever they had an event at the hotel, we were the first photographers that they thought about for either photographing the event or doing the headshots for the team there. So just as unsexy it sounds, we were making steps, and walking from business to business. Doesn't matter whether it's small business, large business. We walk, from everywhere that we could. It was very uncomfortable, to do this. Like, I don't like to talk to strangers that much. Sasha's a bit better with this, but I'm not so much of a talking, talking for no reason. So it was tough, but sometimes we have to suck it up and and do it. Another thing, I joined Chamber of Commerce right away. So we had that. What else did we do? We lived across the street from the San Diego Convention Center. So we reach out to them. Can we advertise with you guys? Because at that point, I thought that when we do headshots like at conferences, that the actual convention center makes this decision or recommends vendors. It's not really the case. The San Diego, the convention center and anywhere, they just provide the space and that's all they care. They don't really recommend, they may recommend vendors to make the signs or lighting, but they don't really recommend photographers. But it gave us the link from the San Diego Convention Center to our website. So it was a very valuable, backlink. So through Chamber of Commerce and a few other things, we got a lot of backlinks to our website from local websites in San Diego. So that gave us a very good boost in SEO. So then when people were searching for headshots, we actually ranked pretty well, pretty fast.
So was your original offer when you went into businesses to talk to them, was your original offer literally free headshots?
For hotels, yes. For hotel, so if the value, if we saw the value in a long-term relationship, then we offer them for free. If it was like a business, that they just need headshots, we just give them a very good price. But we still charge them because, at the end, we still needed some money. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, because otherwise, otherwise you become known as.
I had some money on the side, but I didn't want to. I didn't want to touch that money, so we had to live on month to month. So basically, every $100 that we made here and there, it's like that was perfect. And when you start like this, the one thing that you have plenty of is time. So that's what we offer. And I spend a lot of time on organic SEO. And this was like 9 years ago. That's when we started to do the conference headshots. Then we started to do the SEO, Google Ads. I started to learn Google Ads on my own because I started. Okay, I need to advertise it. So basically, I spend the time to learn, and obviously I made a lot of mistakes. But if you don't make mistakes, you don't never you're never going to achieve anything. So.
Hey, let me just jump in real quick to tell you about the amazing sponsor of this episode, Platypod. Platypod offers innovative camera support systems designed to unleash your creativity. With their stable, versatile, and portable solutions, you can capture stunning shots like never before. And I'm not just saying that. As the host of the Camera Shake podcast, I can personally vouch for Platypod's incredible products. They've become an integral part of the show. In fact, I'm surrounded by various Platypod products holding up lights, cameras, microphones, and so on. It's really helped to transform the way I make the show and the way I shoot at home, in the studio, and on location. But don't just take my word for it. Explore Platypod's website at www.platypod.com to discover their range of products, including the Platypod Extreme, Platypod tripod heads, and the brand new handle, of course. Make sure to follow Platypod on Instagram and Facebook at Platypod Tripods for exclusive updates, tips, and giveaways. By choosing Platypod, you're not only investing in your photography, but you're also supporting the Camera Shake Photography Podcast. Thanks again to Platypod, our amazing sponsor. Platypod, where innovation never sleeps. The interesting thing about this is that you're emphasizing the importance of actually physically going to knock on doors and speaking to people. Well, I think in today's world, a lot of people would basically sort of assume that really all you have to do is sit in front of your computer screen, set up some ads, and wait for the bookings to roll in. But I'm sensing that what you're saying is that's really only part of the story.
You know what? I think the emails, campaigns, ads and everything, there's definitely, place for it and definitely works. The walking and meeting with all the businesses gave us the local presence. Depending on what kind of photography, I mean, as photographers, most of us are not building the presence nationally. I mean, yeah, we like right now for the headshot at conferences, and we are kind of like we rank nationally for this, like on Google, because we get jobs, from coast to coast. But either way, even when we moved, we always try to have the presence locally. So when people think about photography, they will think about us, and by walking, making the face-to-face, contact. We went to restaurants. I did food photography. I mean, I was basically, not afraid of anything. It's like you want me to photograph burgers, I'll photograph burgers. Menus, whatever. I mean, like the San Diego, they had the rabbits, like they put those rabbit statues everywhere in the Chamber of Commerce. Like Chicago had cows at some point. I don't know if they still do. So it's like there was like a fashion thing that different cities put different statues around the city. So San Diego had rabbits, and we photographed those rabbits for the city. So we actually, I think, like 25 or 30 of them. So I had to learn how to photograph as statues that are extremely shiny because they're made out of like some kind of plastic material. I don't know, but it was super shiny. So I had to, I guess, develop some products photography skills as well, because like it was so shiny. So I'm like, so we photographed those. I mean, and we just blogged about it, talked, made some videos about it, and I mean, we photographed so many cool events. Like we did the San Diego Padres intro, we did the mayor of San Diego. So we, by basically being around people and just telling them like, hey, this is what we do, how can we help you, eventually they not every job was paid, but it gives you the presence in front of the people. It's like, okay, this guy is doing a lot.
I think networking is probably the sort of overarching term that's that's very important, especially when you're first starting out. You really need to build that network of of people around you who not only necessarily hire you straight away, but people who recommend your services to others, to their clients.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, right now, I would say 50% or more are jobs, are ongoing jobs or ongoing recommendations. Either like existing clients, sending new people, or just, people recommending between companies. So the networking and, the building the presence, it has a great, like a snowball effect, right? That you start, slower, but then it builds up, builds up, builds up. And, and then, like after 2 years in San Diego, we did all this effort, and then we moved to Orange County, so we had to start from scratch again. So, so, so
But then at that point you already had a blueprint, so you're having an
yeah, yeah, yeah,
advantage
yep, yep,
because
yeah.
and of course you've got a filter as well, because you can filter out the actions that didn't lead to any successes. So you already have something to quantify things by. That's
Exactly. No, exactly. And we did the same walking. From the businesses, we reach out. We were a little bit smarter with Google Ads, and at some point, when did we? I don't remember when we finished weddings. If we finished photographing weddings a few years ago, but basically, I was switched to completely the corporate stuff. So but this is it's still the same. Whether if you're wedding, just reach out to venues, vendors that just bring in, even if you're not doing headshots, offering like headshots to vendors or photographing something for them will take you a long way.
Now it's 2025, and I think photography is in many people's minds under attack from a number of different directions. There's AI on one hand, and then there are smartphones on the other hand. So you hear people say, "Well, everybody's a photographer now." Nobody's going to hire you because everybody's taking pictures. And especially when it comes to headshots, for example. Would you say that, in your experience, has the demand for headshots increased or decreased, or has it remained steady over the last, let's say, 5 years?
To be honest, I don't see any difference in terms of the demand. There, and I'll tell you why. I mean, there's certain genres of photography that definitely are at risk, like stock photography, maybe some product photography, maybe, but not necessarily, because like the product photography has to be exactly of the product. So it cannot be some interpretation of AI of the product, right? But definitely some stock photography, there's definitely, I'm pretty sure there's that it shifted to more there. Event photography, there's no really AI that can impact this. Like wedding photography, I don't think AI. I mean, for editing, yes, but not for photography, right? And then headshots, you would think, is the most also the big risk, at AI. But from what I've seen, I mean, obviously AI is not there yet to create a believable headshot yet, despite what they claim. When you see your friend AI headshots, right away that it's AI and it's not them. And I think in general, with the big push toward, with AI, people start to get annoyed by AI. That it's not really, it's not real, right? There's almost like the whole trend of making things more organic or more non-perfect. I think I believe we're gonna see this more and more.
Is it like
Now,
gnarly vegetables? I think is that the thing, like where it needs to look like that carrot came straight from the farm because it's bendy and not perfectly straight and shiny.
exactly. Yeah. It's a thing, right? Because like and I'm pretty sure, like, AI photos, there'll be a way to make them less perfect, to look less perfect. And I'm sure the facial matching will be better as well. But so there are two situations, right? There are situations for individual headshots. Somebody comes to my studio and just photograph one person, right? And then there's a scenario whether you do headshots for a large number of people, whether at a conference or for a company, right? Imagine if you're responsible, let's start with the team headshots. Like, somebody at the company, I don't know, let's say Coca-Cola wants to do headshots, and they have 300 people that need new headshots, right? Imagine if you're responsible for that. Because when you do AI headshots, you need every person to take few photos of themselves, and I don't know how many, but at least good number of them, and then submit them somewhere, and then this will generate versions of AI. Who knows what they look like? And then they're gonna, receive it, select it, whatever, right? Imagine if you're responsible for for this job, what kind of hassle that is to go after 300 people and chasing them, that they need to take photos of themselves, you know? So that's one way. Or you can hire somebody to take those photos to submit to AI. But if you're going to hire somebody to go from person to person to take those photos to submit to AI, then it's still so many steps, such a hassle. Then you're better off just hiring a professional photographer. They will guide every person. They will have an appointment. They will come. They'll get it done, and they'll deliver, and everybody will look good, and you're done. Right? It's an effort of hiring somebody. It may take you a couple of hours versus days or weeks of chasing people to do it. Right?
Yeah.
So I think AI here, as powerful as it sounds, it doesn't make the job easier. Okay.
That reminds me of when pre-pandemic, I used to focus predominantly on shooting conferences, and one thing that in the beginning, I used to sort of ask myself all the time was like, how come, because most of my clients were international corporates, how come they will fly me to a different country, in Europe or wherever, for me to take photographs, for the duration of the conference, 3 days, 4 days, rather than hiring somebody, because, they would have to pay for my flights, my transportation, they would have to, obviously pay my fee, they would have to pay for my hotel, blah, blah, blah. Rather than just hiring somebody in, Budapest, because there are plenty of fantastic headshot, whatever, event photographers. And and in the beginning, I used to wonder, like, how does that make sense? It's so much more expensive for them to fly me over there and cater and house me and all the rest of it. And it's a little while later that I spoke to somebody who was involved in actually organizing a particular conference, and he said, the reality is, there are so many, literally hundreds, probably thousands of things you have to do, on an infinite bullet point list of tasks, and hiring the photographer is one bullet point on these hundreds of bullet points. And if I can just email you, tell you what the job's about, and you say yes, I can do it, I can take that off the box and I can move on to the next thing. If I had to then go and find somebody in Budapest and vet them and blah, 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 and yada, 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 it would take absolutely forever. And I can, and of course it sort of dawned on me at the time. I was, well, yeah, it makes perfect sense. Okay, the expenses.
And not to mention the risk. Because every time you make a decision, there's a risk associated with it that this is not the right person, right? Yeah. And the person hiring you, they don't want to take this risk. This is the unnecessary risk to change it, right? So yeah, absolutely. This is how business operates. That we need to make things efficiently and focus on things that bring value, and not just repeat the decision points that we don't need to make. So absolutely.
So when it comes to headshots, it occurs to me that now that there are certain AI tools that are available. I saw an app the other day. We can take a snapshot on your phone, and it turns it into an AI-ified the business headshot or something. But with these technologies available, and that app costs like, I don't know, $1.60 or something. Whatever it is. When you're putting yourself out there, promoting your, like, let's say, your headshot business, would you qualify your, the businesses that you go and see, in a sense that you would think like, okay, well, is there a point in, like, talking to a small business or a startup business, if, given that they might be lower on funds, they might be more likely to go for a cheaper option, like a do-it-yourself.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I'm sure, the similar situation was with stock photos. I think the reputation of business goes down really fast when you go to the website and you see those generic stock photos. I never, my respect for, and I'm not just a photographer, but my respect to any business that I go and I see some generic, office photos, is just like, okay,
Yeah.
I don't know how small we are.
The IT guy with the laptop in a gray overcoat in front of a server bank. That one?
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, or people discussing and
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
pointing at some glass, with the highlighter. I mean, yeah, this is, it's so overdone, and the same thing is with with those headshots, right? And I talk about the team headshots that really it doesn't solve the problem, right? Now with the individual headshots, I think for those people that before didn't care about their headshots, and you will see like on LinkedIn they either have like crappy phones, the selfie or whatever, right? Those will be the people that still don't care about it, and maybe because their phone is, the camera is better, the photo may be a little bit better, or they'll be the people that use the AI for the photo because they don't care that much, right? But then there's still a very big group of people, the professionals, that really care how they look, right? And even if they AI, because how do you qualify AI? Either it doesn't look like me at all, or it looks so much better than me, but I know it's not me, right? so so what's the point? I mean, I can put George Clooney photos and pretend on my LinkedIn it's like, oh, it's me, but it doesn't look like me, right? So what's the point? As professionals, I mean, we work so many years and we build our reputation, we build our skills, and then we put somebody else's photo because AI is not you, right? I mean, it's not. It's just some AI representation of who they think what our face looks like, right? But they try to make it better, right? And by making it better, it doesn't look like us. So I think the professionals that put their photos on LinkedIn, on the website, on the directories, on the posters or whatever, like real estate agents or lawyers, or etc. Right? Um, they they don't feel any connection with the photo of themselves, right? They know it's not them, so they don't represent themselves really. It's almost like I'm representing somebody else. And I think, those people, even though the AI headshots are still, available right now, people still come to me because they need, and for their business, a good quality headshot that really gives them business, because this headshots is not only on the LinkedIn profile, but it's a tool to market themselves and to make money.
So many years ago, I used to. This was really, I would say, well, no, it wasn't. It wasn't a big at the time of the beginning of the internet. It was more like at the time of the beginning of social media, or just before, just when social media started. I used to run a music school, and of course, in those early days, it was still very much a traditional form of advertising, as in, like, you print flyers. That's one thing, and you put ads in local newspapers and magazines and stuff like that. It's a print media, basically. And as far as flyers were concerned, because it was a music school and we were predominantly, the vast 95% of our clientele were, children and young people, teenagers. So we would, partner up with schools, and they would help us promote, to their parents, and so on and so forth. Um, but of course, now in 2025, we have a number of online options like Google Ads, but there are also Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads. Now, how would I, as a startup business, or as a budding new photography business owner, how would I know what to go for? Because that landscape is, I think, getting more and more confusing.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, between Google, I mean, ads are good in general. Okay. Um, as much, like one of the, so the few, as photographers, we have few places, or few, channels that we can advertise with, right? We have Google ads, you have Yelp ads, Facebook ads, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and then printed materials like magazines, etc. Right? I'll go with the magazine first. I think magazine in general don't work anymore, right? Whether it's for weddings, I had full page ads on wedding magazines, for years, and didn't really make business, fly. It was more about brand awareness. So if you running, um, printed ads is more for brand awareness. Like I have a full page ad on a real estate magazine, uh, just so that people know that I'm there, but nobody's really reaching out and just, from the ad. So if you don't have extra money, don't spend on it. Okay. That's how I would say, because it's not where you get the return on investment, the best. Now, I think for certain type of photography, Facebook and Instagram are better than Google Ads. I think for weddings, portraits, like women portraits or dog portraits or kids portraits, Facebook and Instagram is much better. Okay. Uh, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you can agree with me or totally disagree. Most people do not have the requirement, need, or want, like to do the family or wedding is different, because weddings you really, kind of like you have to have a photographer, right? So wedding kind of it's a bridge. You can Facebook and Google Ads are good, but like for portraits, for family portraits, dog portraits, kids portraits, I think Facebook is better, because we need to build the desire first. That oh, I should do this. Oh, I like it. This, I like how this looks. And then I'm interested to do it. But it's not very common. Maybe like in the fall when the families want to do like holiday cards, they start to look for a photographer. But throughout the year they don't do it. Of course there are exceptions, but I'm saying like in general, right? So that's why we have to build a desire or remind them that those photos are important, and that's why those ads are more as a disruptor to their flow, because they don't go to Google and start searching for photographers, right? Or how to preserve memories of my kids. They don't do this. So that's why Facebook is better, because you reach an audience that's like, oh yeah, I should do it, right?
Actually, this makes perfect sense. It's just occurred to me. You're absolutely right. From what you were saying, on Facebook, you build desire.
Yeah, exactly.
And on Google, you serve a need.
Yeah, exactly. Because like when you have a headshot, I mean, usually if you're a business, like for a company, you have somebody task you, we need to do headshots. So what you do, you're not gonna go to Facebook and start scrolling that maybe you're gonna get some ad from a headshot photographer. This doesn't happen. You don't have time for this. You go to Google or whatever and you search, headshot photographers. Recently, that changed. Speaking of AI, I'm getting a lot more clients that found me through ChatGPT.
Cool.
So they basically asked ChatGPT who are the best headshot photographers in Orange County, and somehow I come as the number one recommendation by ChatGPT for headshot
Ooh.
photographers. Yeah. So that's another completely different SEO kind of, and they don't call it SEO anymore. They call it AIO or something like this. So that's one way. And then for, as I mentioned, for weddings, it could be both, because you can go, you still have a year ahead, so you may like pop up as like, oh, you should, this is something that you should, think about, or people go to Google and start searching for, for wedding photographers, right? So Yelp is good for searching for headshots. As much as we hate Yelp, it does bring business.
Yelp is one of these funny things, because I have to admit, I never use Yelp for anything.
Yeah, but
personally.
a lot of people do. A lot of people do.
Oh, I guess so. Yeah, I mean, otherwise it wouldn't be around. Yeah.
And a lot of people are searching Yelp for family photography. So if you're family photography, Yelp is actually pretty good. And for headshot as well. It's not the cheapest, but you only pay for leads. for those, for the clicks. So that's pretty good. If you're really desperate and you want to have people in front of your camera, then Thumbtack can be good as well. Their fees went up drastically. I don't know, like their fees are crazy now. But if you want just to have the people in front of a camera, you can definitely, do some Thumbtack as well. You're gonna get people. Like I did Thumbtack for like 3 years. I was like the top photographer on Thumbtack with the most jobs, the most reviews. But yeah, this is very price sensitive over there. So you're not gonna make tons of money, but you're gonna get, you never know who you're gonna meet. So if you can use this almost as a building your network, right? That's you make money, you make a little of money, but you're building your network. So that's Google. We talk about Google ads, Facebook ads, and then Yelp and Thumbtack.
LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
mean, I would think that.
Oh, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn. I have not met anybody yet that runs successful ads on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is good in networking. I think it's good to make those connections, and you can make business like that. But there's no need to run ads. I think if you buy the LinkedIn Premium, you can make this money work for you much better than running any ads on LinkedIn.
That's interesting though, because you might think that, especially for headshots, if you think like people who are on LinkedIn already must see a need for better headshots for their profile
Well,
pictures on
don't
LinkedIn.
get me wrong. I get a lot of business through LinkedIn, but not because of ads on LinkedIn. And LinkedIn, comparatively to like Google, are much more expensive. Yeah. So definitely build a network on LinkedIn, and reach out to people. Find like businesses in your area and start reaching out to them. But at the end, don't sell. Uh, don't be like the 99% of messages you receive on LinkedIn. That's just basically sell on the first message.
Oh man, how many messages do I get every day of people offering me their photo editing services?
Yeah. So it's make the connection and don't sell yet. Just make the connection. So comment. Yeah, like on LinkedIn, just comment on other people's posts, build that connection, and reach out then. And I usually actually most of my leads actually from LinkedIn are reaching out to me first that they need it.
Here's a question to you in terms of LinkedIn. This is just, I'm just asking this purely out of interest, because I don't really know very much about LinkedIn, to be honest with you. What's the main difference between the LinkedIn Premium paid for version and the just the regular free version?
You can send messages to people that are not your contacts on LinkedIn. So that's the big difference. And then you can make very advanced searches of people. And then the search on LinkedIn is actually very powerful. So, for example, if you want to find C-level executives for construction companies in your area that have, I don't know, between 50 and 100 people in the company, and they have been in this role for for at least a year, you can easily find those people, and those are the ones that you can reach out to say like, hey, how can I help you?
Right. That's interesting. That's actually very
Yeah.
interesting. All right, let's talk a little bit about Google Ads, because that's, I know you're very very knowledgeable when it comes to Google Ads. Let's say you've started your business, you've decided, okay, well, I've knocked on all the doors, now it's time to go digital, and I've decided to run Google Ads. What's the first thing you do? I mean, because I know, like with Facebook ads, for example, I know from my own experience, Facebook ads seem to work quite well when you're promoting a particular, like let's say an event, like a mini
Mhm.
session headshot event or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I don't know really how useful Facebook ads are on a on a constant basis. But when it comes to Google ads, and I see those, whenever I Google anything, I see the sponsored ads on the top of it,
Mhm.
on the top of the page. Um, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it occurs to me that that's more of a kind of you want to create some continuity with that? Is that how you do it, or do you do it? Do you run Google Ads over for a specific time period, or how does that actually work?
Well, I run Google Ads nonstop.
Right.
Yeah. So the only time the only day I'm skipping is Saturday. On Saturday, I don't run for headshot at least. I noticed that the response on Google Ads on Saturdays is the lowest. Sunday is good, especially Sunday afternoon, because I think people start to think about their job again on Sunday afternoon. So they actually oh shoot, I need to do the headshots, and that's the time that they have, right? And then I run on Monday to Friday. So I run those ads nonstop. And when you run when you run Google Ads, the big mistakes that I saw people make on Google Ads is, one, they don't put any offer or any reason for people to take any action with them, right? So they run a Google ad and then they point them to their homepage with fingers crossed that they're going to book a session, when they come to my homepage, right? But the problem is that you paid for that visit, right? And when somebody comes to your homepage, yes, you can make your homepage really transactional, or there's only one thing you can do on your homepage, but I would say big majority, 99% of people, when we go to their homepage, there's more than one thing to do on the homepage, right? So that's why when the landing pages come into play, and landing pages are basically dedicated pages, whether it's within your website or on a separate subdomain, that the main goal is to convert that person that came to that page to give you their information for whatever value you provide them, right? You can give them some guides, books, you can give them a special discount, whatever you decide to do. Sorry, the value has to be there for them to give you the information, and there should be only one, call to action, or one thing they can do, on that page. So that means no menu, right? So the big thing, no menu. They cannot navigate anywhere else. There's only the button. The button should be only one thing they can do with the button, and so to fill out the form to get whatever you offer them. The logo should not take you to the homepage of the website, etc. And then basically it's all information that you can think of, that the visitor may need on that one page. And because when they come to your page, they don't know you, they don't know who they are. It doesn't matter how famous you are, or you think known in the area. People most of the time, they don't know who you are, right? So focus on the value, on the benefits of what you offer, not just the features, but the benefits, and then add some social proof. So if you have reviews, the reviews are so important. So put the social proof, and yeah, that's basically the foundation, the first part of any advertisements, that you should be doing, right? There should be some reason for them to to be interested in working with you, or even get the information, the lead map. They don't even have to want to work with you at that point. If you provide, I don't know, for family sessions, let's say you provide a guide how to dress your whole family, right? So that's not just random clothes, but there's some feel to it, right? Or and where to get those clothes, right? How to you can even put specific links to different clothes that works together, right? So that's the good value to client. For example, for headshots, we have a campaign where we offer 50% off on the session fee, right? So they have to sign up to receive the coupon code, and that's how it works. And then once they sign up, the following up is extremely important. You cannot just send one email and say, or just book here. You have to nurture that lead, and sometimes it takes a month, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes 12 months, but you have to stay in touch with that person.
So let's say you're offering a guide, on my website, you can download the ultimate headshot guide. Basically, that gives you all the information that you need. So once somebody's downloaded that guide, and of course in exchange they would punch in their email address. So now you have a list of email addresses. Um, so what you're saying is you're recommending to stay in touch with those people, the warm leads, I suppose, in order to nurture them to eventually pull the
Yeah,
trigger
you have to
and
tell them about yourself. That one of the email, you can send emails with some additional reviews or about the process, how it works. Obviously, first, if you offer a guide, obviously the first email will be with the guide, right? And then after that, you can nurture those emails with tips. How, even if they don't go with you, to provide them tips so that they know you're an expert, right? You know what you're doing, that you have an experience. And just like our chain is like, I think, like 25 emails that we sent in 14 or 15 months. But yeah, so we have it automated, obviously, and we have automated the emails, we have automated the text messages. So everything is done automatically, and if somebody responds, then I step in, or my studio manager steps in and just responds, or call them. When they sign up for the special, actually, beside the text message and email, we call them as well, and we call them like right away. So that follow-up is extremely important.
I've actually just realized this. This is exactly what happened to me the other day. Only a few days ago, I was trying to find storage. I was trying to find a storage space basically for my stepson who's coming back from university, and he's got too much shit basically, so we need to get some storage. And of course, I've been on the net. I've been comparing storage spaces and prices and stuff, and I pretty much immediately had people call me back, asking me about my requirements. That's
the first, and the certain businesses, they call more than others. I think photographers don't call enough. So that, if you want to differentiate yourself, you just call, and ask them, about what they need, how we can help them,
So that's a really interesting strategy. So with Google Ads, for example, are you sort of recommending to have just generally a particular offer going on Google Ads, like let's say 50% off or 25% off the session fee or something like that?
I find, I think the offers on Google Ads is pretty powerful, but it has it cannot be like 10%. It has to be something significant. I don't. The ultimate guide to headshots maybe work, may not work. Okay, because when somebody looking for headshots, they don't, they want to make the process as easy for themselves as possible, right? So I have guides. It's actually one of my, the two most popular pages on my websites are guides for men and guides for women. Those are the two most popular pages on my website. And when people book the session with me, I send them the guides, so they have the guides before they even like come to the studio. And so this is like a preparation process. I think with Google Ads, some kind of deal, or not even the price, but maybe include extra photo or something like that, or offer like something that I'm thinking of, I'm going to be doing it soon, is to update the LinkedIn header for them, to help them design the LinkedIn profile for them. So this is like extra value. So basically, you have to think about like some extra value that you can add, so that they're more entitled to like do something different than what other people do, and this way you'll get attention, because a lot of people, when they do headshots, LinkedIn is one of the ways they're going to show the photo, right? Even if they need for websites or whatever, LinkedIn is always okay. I'm going to update my LinkedIn profile as well, right? But then you see so much that like they put the profile, but like their header is still crappy, so I'm thinking of like doing some, designing few templates, and then just basically put it together, based on the colors, etc. So I can, so basically that it will be easy enough, but it will provide good value to them. So anytime, any offer that you do, for the Google Ads, there must be an offer, right? You cannot just say, you cannot just go, because I've seen that as well, that people do Google ads. They even have a landing page, but the thing they want people to do on the landing page is to book the session. And then they're concerned, like, well, people don't book the sessions. I'm like, no, they're not gonna. There may be some people that book, but there's a very small percentage. Most of the people are like, they're thrown off. It's like, okay, you want me to already book it? I don't even know who you are. Like, let me check. Let me compare you with other people, and then you lose them, right? Because they're not gonna. And then there's no way for you to follow up with them because you don't even have their information. There's no way for you to call them and ask them, how can I help you? Because they didn't provide you the information, to contact them.
So when they come to your landing page, what is this of logical next step that you guide them to take?
It's always the above the hero section. So it's like the above the fold, right? So the first thing that when they see this is, I would say, 80% of what people read. If you don't have a good hero section, or then you're not going to convert on your landing page. So you have to make sure first that they feel they came to the right place. This is that you do what they want. They're looking for. Whatever your landing page, whatever you offer on this, matches the ad that they just clicked on, right? And so, like, if you advertise Google, my headshot session, and you go to the page and it talks about event photography and the other stuff, blah blah, it just doesn't map, right? But if you advertise event photography, you should have an event photography page, right? If you advertise headshots, then your page should be just for headshots. If you have a specific campaign just for real estate agent headshots, then your landing page should be for real estate headshots. You should define how you helping real estate agents, right? So the header should be that you're the experts, you're the right, that they came to the right place, and then what is the value that you offer, right? It has to be very clear, what the value is, and then there should be only one button, in the header, then either the form should be already on the hero section, or the button to pop up the form to give you the information, and that's it. And then the rest of the page, it's additional information. So you can have an FAQ, you can be about you can have the social proof, so like reviews, the fee, the benefits of everything, your process, what are the steps, what are the features at the end, what the features are, like how it works. And yeah, that should be pretty straightforward. And then at the bottom of the page, I usually put the section is called too busy to read. So basically, a lot of people just what they do is just, actually, most people just read the header, but a lot of the next percentage of people, I don't know exactly what's the exact percentage, but they all scroll all to the bottom to see what's there. And then I have in the bottom actually a section called, "Are you too busy to read?" Here's the snapshot of everything that I just on this page. And then it's the same, but the action is still the same.
So the action is at that point to, like, let's say, download a guide or
to provide the information, right?
Yeah.
And then once they provide the information, then you send them the whatever you promised them to send, or you send them the discount code, or you tell them, if you offer, for example, what do you call it, like extra photos, then you tell them, like, this is how to schedule a session to get the extra photos.
That's actually interesting. Okay. So basically, creating a book the session now button on the landing page then might not necessarily be the most effective way of going about it.
It's the least effective.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. Never, ever have book now.
That's very interesting, because that's so counterintuitive in many ways.
Exactly, right? Because remember, even like when I mentioned LinkedIn, right? It's you don't ask for sale on the first message, right? The same here. I don't ask them to buy anything at this point, right? Because if I ask them to buy on the first step, the chances are they're not going to do it, right? I mean, there will be some people that will do it. They will love what they see, but big percentage of people, majority of people will be turned off by this. Because it's like, I'm not committing yet, but if you receive it's like, oh, what do well, I'm going to get a discount code. Okay, whatever. or I'm going to get the guide, or I'm going to get some extra photos here. So let me see. I mean, what am I risking? I'm not risking anything at this point, right?
It's a really interesting concept, just generally speaking, because again, intuitively, what you would think is like, okay, well, you put a Google ad up, and you create a landing page, and on a landing page, people can book your session. That's sort of what instinctively,
Yeah.
that's what you would
Yeah, when
think.
you run the Google ads or any ads really is to generate leads, not to get bookings.
Right.
Yeah. Then once you get the leads, then the next step is to convert the leads into bookings. But the job of the ads is not to make the bookings. That's I think that's the misconception that a lot of people have.
And that's actually a brilliant way of putting it. So I've learned something. I hope anybody listening or watching this podcast will have learned something very valuable at this very moment. Right. So let's explore the next step. So we've created the leads. Now, how do we convert these pretty warm leads into actual bookings?
Yeah, so that is basically what I mentioned. The calls, emails, text messages. Text messages are extremely powerful. They have to be done, not intrusively, but from time to time. But the text messages are very powerful. But yeah, the automation, you don't want to send those emails manually. You don't want to send those text messages manually, because you just don't have time. This is not where the money is, right? I mean, making the phone calls is, that's personal. Some people do videos. You can send a video through text message as well. That could be, as well. So any way that you can differentiate yourself from the other people. But yeah, stay in touch and just deliver what you have, and then give them tips, and put yourself as an expert. Reviews are extremely important. That's why I have a whole automation asking for reviews after the sessions. So I don't do it. I don't do it manually. Those reviews are basically automated. The requests are automated, and I send text messages for asking for reviews, and that helps a lot.
It's super interesting because you can very clearly see how people who are creative. I mean, a lot of the time, people who end up in photography are, by the very nature, probably of the creative type. And you can quite easily see how, when you get into photography as a business, and you sort of, you envisage yourself as creating photographs every day and being creative, how all of that strategic under the hood planning might actually either suffer or completely go out the window when it comes to building the business. But that's that's sort of the
Yeah.
that's the foundation of it all, really.
I mean, as much as we all love photography, if either if you treat it as a side gig, then you don't care so much about money. You can just do whatever you want, and just continue this way. But if you want to if you want photography to be the way you make your living, then you have to treat it as a way of making living, and as a business, right? Business comes first, and obviously you have to have solid photography skills, but if you have solid photography skills but no business approach to it, it's gonna fail. Either you're gonna burn out, or really um, you know do stuff for nothing. One second, my wife. Why is she? Okay, she's knocking on my window that you got some plan. Like, I'm still on the podcast. so, so yeah. But you know, you have to take business first, and then do the photography as a tool, right? That's how we run the business. But you have to make sure that we can make a living. Otherwise, it's not sustainable.
There's something else that I want to explore, which sort of relates to the whole thing, because we've been talking about planned ads like Google ads and things like that. I think another misconception that I come across a lot of the time is that it's enough for a photographer to be present on social media, in particular Instagram. Um, how useful is that in general, or does it really not matter very much in the grand scheme of things, especially when we're talking about targeted ads and remarketing and things like that?
To be honest, I'm not an expert in Instagram or social media, so I don't think I'm the right person to ask this question. I'm still trying different things to get some good traction on social media. Um, so I can't really give any tips because I'm still trying to learn on this. I mean, there are a lot of photographers that make a lot of business on Instagram. I don't.
But that's an interesting thing, though, because that's sort of exactly where I was trying to get with this question is, in your experience, um, taking the proactive, because this in my mind, this is sort of how I separate the two. Instagram and Facebook and so on and so forth. To me, they're fairly passive platforms on the outset. You upload your photo, and then it's there, and then you sort of think in the back
I
of your
mean, if
mind.
there's a hook, if you do those videos with a hook and and then treat them as a lead generating tool, then definitely you can do that. And I know a lot of people do it this way. I think photographers don't. I haven't seen too many photographers approaching it this way. Meaning, like, I mean, there's one or two that I know that like I do it this way, but most of them are not. But um, it is passive. You just keep posting and hoping for the best, or you can just do some extra stuff, like reels or some posts that go for the engagement. And like, for example, if you request message this word, and then we'll get you the whatever, the guide or whatever, and this would be a good situation for receiving a guide, right? And then you have the automation to send them the guide and get like asking them for the information, for email and name, and then you can send them the guide, right? So there's a way to generating leads through Instagram without running ads, right? Especially when it comes to to reels. I think reels are still being pushed more outside your followers than just within the followers. So so there's a way to do it as well there.
Because that's
You know?
always that's often the danger. I mean, a lot of the people that follow you on, I mean, this is what I find. It's a lot of the people that follow me on social media platforms, no matter which one it is, they're fellow photographers for the most part. Now, I'm not trying to sell my product to fellow
Yeah,
photographers.
I made the mistake as well, but yeah, this is my focus for the last couple of years is basically I don't really don't care so much about photographers following me,
Exactly.
and it's more about people that may be my potential clients in the future. That's what I care more about. You
Absolutely.
know.
And of course, in the context of this podcast, of course, I do care, if
Yeah,
photographers
yeah.
follow me because
I
they
mean,
might be listening to this
that's why
podcast. So.
like if I put if I used to like do BTS and like, oh, this is how I do it, blah blah. But yeah, that attracts other photographers. But from my perspective as a as a business owner, I need to think more about who are my potential clients and not who are my kind of build my um I don't know, my ego that other photographers want to learn from me, because to me, that's much less important than, actually, working with potential clients.
And this is important because it's an allocation of resources in terms of time, because time's limited, and so you only have a finite amount of it. So where do you allocate your most valuable resource? Is it in creating content for social media that maybe massages your ego and makes you look good, or is it, do you invest it into methods that actually target very precisely the kind of client that you're looking for, i.e., Google and Facebook?
And actually, we just started recently. We started to do interviews with people talking about their business tips. What like, I don't know what makes a good real estate agent. Like what not so much not make what makes a good real estate agent, but what makes a successful real estate agent. So there's more about the business perspective to it, right? So that's so I'm trying to reach outside of just, oh, headshots are important. It's more about just general talk about business in as a whole.
That could be an interesting concept. Actually, that could be an interesting concept to get in with things like chambers of commerce, for example, when you're trying to network with other
Yeah,
businesses in
exactly,
that.
exactly. Yeah, you can feature the people that are in your chamber of commerce and just talk to them. Um, yeah. So that's I really started like a few weeks ago, and so the first ones will be appearing soon. But yeah, this is kind of, as I said, like I'm trying different things and see we are always learning. So yeah, that's always my attitude. Like this, never never accept that you know everything, and just continuously learn and see how we can make the business better.
So if somebody asks you today in 2025, yeah,
Mhm.
is photography still worth it? What would your answer be?
Um, I think so. I mean, there's, I mean, we make a decent living, on with photography. And I know a good number of photographers that still make good living. It's not like, hey, I just gotta get my camera and I'm gonna make tons of money. That doesn't work like this. But I think there's still a good amount of demand in for photography. It's definitely not that like they were saying, like, actually, I was on a panel in London, I think 2 weeks ago, for Capture One. And we had it was a panel with three other awesome photographers, and one of them said like how AI is killing the business, that's like more the commercial side. But I was like, what, changes is inevitable, like it's always going to happen, right? Like, I don't know if you ever read this book, Who Moved My Cheese? Uh, but there's a very short book about not going to the same place and expecting the same things every day. Things will change. you know when the first digital cameras appeared, it's like, oh, this is the end. This is the end of photography.
Yeah.
Because now everybody can do it, right? When the iPhone started to get better, or the phone's cameras started to be, oh, how many years have we heard that photography is dead because cell phones make such good photos? I mean,
No,
this has been
absolutely.
going on for so many years, and it's not dead. Yeah, I mean, just have to adapt, doing a bit differently. But uh, just because an iPhone now has even better, photos, it's still not dead. I mean, even though Apple use iPhone photos on some of the billboards, that doesn't mean that all the billboards that you see, the advertisement, is all shot with an iPhone. It's not true.
Well, I mean, there's and there's I have a lot to say about this whole illusion that you can use an iPhone to shoot feature films. And like, this feature film has been shot on iPhone. Yeah, if you've ever seen how they've actually utilized the iPhone with like
Exactly.
massive cinema lenses, so there's nothing. I
Exactly.
mean,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So it's the the hype about I mean, like the number of times that I heard that photography is dead. It's been so many times, and like, end of the film, right? And look how people still shoot film.
yeah, absolutely.
Actually, film is pretty popular. I mean, there are wedding photographers that should only film.
But
It's like,
also bloody expensive these days in
yeah, yeah,
comparison.
you know. So there's doesn't, in my opinion, like, yeah, there's an too many photographers in general, too many people that think they can be professional photographers, right? But that doesn't mean that they all going to be successful. But that also doesn't mean that there's no business in photography. If you do it right, I mean, there's still way to make this work.
So, would you encourage somebody who's thinking of starting a career in, or maybe even a second career in photography in 2025? Would you encourage somebody to go ahead and burn the boats and just go for it?
I mean, definitely not the easiest job to do. I think the easier ways, to now, if you're 21 or 22, to make money. But if you're passionate about photography, learn business first. Continue. I mean, get your skills to be at a good level, but don't think that just photography will make it work. You have to know that you don't have to go to college or anything like that, but you have to really spend some time learning business. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. And just the business knowledge is extremely important. As I as we start businesses, as I mentioned before, we have time, right? So that you know you can spend all this time learning and do it yourself, or if you don't have time, find the right person to either teach you to do it properly or let them do it for you. Okay, but don't like just because you don't have time, don't do it or don't do it properly, right? If you don't have time, means that you either the two way. Like if you don't have time, either you make good money with the time that you allocating to it, and if you not don't make good money with the time you're allocating and you don't have time, means that you spend your time on the wrong items, right? Because it's very easy to be busy, right? Doesn't mean that you're busy with the right things, you know. So when you think you're busy but you don't make money, just think about like, am I spending the thing, my time on the right items, right, on the right things, right? Am I just spending 80% of trying to respond to some emails or trying to get the inspiration on Instagram? uh
That's it.
that's because it's easy yeah, as I said, it's very easy to be busy, extremely easy to be busy, but that doesn't mean anything.
What's a good resource for people to learn about how to run effective Google ad campaigns, for example?
Yeah, Google, Google in general is not the most user friendly. Yeah, search is easy, but if you use any tools from Google, they're not the most user friendly. It's often they're written by developers and they think differently. They would like to overcomplicate things or name things that don't make any sense.
But a Facebook ad
Uh,
manager, by the way, whoever created that should be put away for a very long time.
yeah, so exactly. So either if you feel you know um, strong about it, you can learn it on your own. That's what I did. But be prepared to make some mistakes or just waste some money. There's a lot of information on YouTube, obviously. The only thing is that it's scattered and often contradicting. So if you don't know what you're doing, you may be redoing things over and over, or just making those mistakes. I'm actually in the process of making Google Ads training for photographers. Um, I was supposed to finish in May. Obviously, I'm not finishing in May, but so I hope I can finish it in June now, because I'm going on vacation in July. So I want to finish before that. So this would be like a comprehensive course, to do it. Then I do have a platform, Vasho Digital, where it's a marketing platform like for leads and automation and everything. And part of it is, I guide people how to create the landing pages. I provide the template for the landing pages, and they can just customize them themselves. And all the automation is already done, so you just have to put your own like text, make it a little bit better for yourself, and you can start running those ads. Because as I mentioned, the offer, the landing page, and then the follow-up is the most important. The setting up the initial Google ads is not that complicated. It's just optimizing it and making sure that everything works well. That's a bit more complicated.
One tool that I found quite useful, especially talking about Facebook ad campaigns, is actually using ChatGPT to analyze your results on a daily basis, because it's super because it literally just crunches the numbers and makes recommendations on what step to take next. And I found that actually really quite eye-opening. And it really teaches you that it's really, like you said earlier, it's not just a matter of making an ad, putting it out there, and then sitting back and hoping for bookings to roll in. It's really a really complicated matter of fine tuning it and changing things and stopping things that are not performing, and A, B, C,
Yeah,
D, E
the
testing.
copy on the ad is important. And you have to try different things and see what works the best, and be a little bit different than the other ads that you see for the same services. Yeah, and it's chat. If you don't spend, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours on ChatGPT daily, you're basically gonna fall behind. So that's kind of a I ask ChatGPT for everything right now. Let it learn about me, and like somebody in my group posted like, was it 2 or 3 days ago? Hey, how and they were creating a landing page. It's like how they were using on WordPress on the Elementor, and it's like how can I disable the menu and the logo and everything on the Elementor? Like I can't figure out how to do it, and then people start to make comments, and I've never I don't use Elementors. I don't know how to do it exactly, but I said like, did you ask ChatGPT how to do it? And it's like, oh, so then so he asked ChatGPT and it told him right away how to do it. It's like, oh shoot, I didn't know I didn't realize how easy it was to do it. So so he got his answer like right away, how to do it properly. So yeah, just from business plans to like ideas, you should be using this AI, to your benefit, to make it basically be more efficient as a business person.
I use ChatGPT as a Swedish trainer because you can talk to it, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
so what I do is when I every week I pick up my daughter. It's about a 45-minute drive, and so I essentially tell ChatGPT that I'm a beginner Swedish learner, and that I've been learning for about a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. And I ask it to have a conversation with me in beginner Swedish, and it is literally like you've got somebody sitting on the passenger seat, and you're having a conversation with them in easy. It's unbelievable, and it's so powerful when it comes to language learning, for example. It's so powerful to have somebody to talk to rather than just doing it on Duolingo
Yep, yep.
or via book. It's unbelievable. So
Yeah,
yeah,
my kids love to talk to ChatGPT.
it's what's incredible. Actually, this is one thing I've just completely off topic, by the way, but it's something I've just learned recently is that you can ask it to speak just by any language, right? But you can also ask it to speak another language with a particular accent. So I ask it to speak English with a German accent. It
Oh, nice.
works perfectly.
I like, yeah, yeah.
This
This is cool. Definitely the capabilities are there. Yes.
I know, unbelievable. Where do you think this technology is going to go in the next? I don't know. I mean, it's hard to think what's going to happen in a year from now. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like in 10 years from now.
Yeah, hard to say. I think eventually we're gonna have see I don't know how the movement or how the preference will change, but into the more organic way of doing things. Because like nowadays it's like everybody wants to use AI, but nobody wants to talk to AI. If you if you talk to, if you call some business and AI responds, as a phone call, like it's so frustrating, that
Yeah.
that you're not talking to a real person, So yeah, well, I don't know. As I mentioned before, things are never the same. So they will continue changing.
You made a comment earlier that I thought was super interesting, and you referred to people using ChatGPT as a search engine. Um, Now that's actually super interesting because I think that opens up the door to targeted advertising, for example, on ChatGPT rather than on a platform like Google.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know whether there's advertisement on ChatGPT.
Well, there isn't yet,
Uh,
but what I'm saying is, with a view to the
maybe,
future,
maybe,
this
yeah,
this
yeah,
could
maybe,
be because
yeah.
when the day comes that more people search for information on ChatGPT than on Google, then very clearly that becomes
Eventually they try to monetize it somehow. We'll see. We'll see. It's it's possible. It's possible. I mean, you see on Google searches, right, the AI responses, a lot more, and that kills the whole concept of putting a lot of blogs with information. Kind of goes away because AI will provide you this summary text right on the top, so there's no point going to those different blog posts. So from that perspective, that changes a lot. I think in SEO in general, the shift is huge right now.
I mean, and that's we haven't really even kind of touched on the whole SEO subject, but that's of course that's almost like a completely different subject for another episode, I think. Yaneck, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show. Thank you so much for being the guest on the Camera Shake podcast this week.
Kirsten, that's such a pleasure. Thank you so much. And, sorry, we took a little bit longer, but yeah.
Okay, folks, that's it for today. What a great conversation with Yaneck. So many insights into what it really takes to build a photography business in 2025. As always, before we go, let me just recommend another episode that I think you'll enjoy. Check out episode 253, where I explore fine art photography with Anya Anti. I'm sure you love it. And if you enjoy our content, consider supporting us on buymeacoffee.com to help us continue creating and bringing you more exciting episodes. It really does mean the world to us. And for those of you listening to the audio version of this podcast, did you know that there's a fully fledged video version over on YouTube with plenty of examples of our guest photography in full Technicolor? Well, you should by now because I keep mentioning it all the time. So all you have to do is head over to YouTube, search for Camera Shake Podcast, and you'll be able to watch all past episodes on there. And if you're already on YouTube, well, just drop us a comment, hit the like button, ring the bell, and share with your friends. Your engagement helps us reach a wider audience all over the world. So thank you for listening and watching. And remember, a new episode drops every Thursday. So mark your calendars, write in your diaries, whatever your kids use these days, ChatGPT, I don't know. Until next time, keep shaking things up in the world of photography. See you next Thursday.